Hey everybody, how's everybody doing? Hopefully everybody's enjoying their Saturday night. Hopefully you guys are, just taking care of yourself. As always, I like to start off the video by giving a shout out to those essentials, the ones that are working in the, hospitals, doctors, nurses, everybody who's, doing this, janitors that have to clean up the rooms, everybody that's working out there right now. Hopefully you guys are taking care and you're being safe about it. As always, wash your hands before every meal and after every meal. If you got a cough on your elbow, and always carry some hand sanitizer with you. It's just recently been put that we do have to wear masks in some counties in California. So, have some masks, have some gloves, be safe about it, do the right thing. And, for the ones that are not working, the ones that aren't working right now, hopefully you guys are taking this time to, self-care, the body, the mind. Hopefully if you guys are married, hopefully you guys are enjoying time with your loved ones. And, the quicker we all, follow the rules and just do as we're told, the quicker this whole thing gets over with. Just got off a conversation with a couple of people that I work with, and they were just telling me some stories right now. And my girlfriend went outside a little bit. She played it safe, but she was just telling me she just couldn't believe, the people that were kind of out there. Guys, if, I understand getting your essentials, but be smart about it. Don't roam the aisles. Don't just get what you need and go. But just be safe, play it cool, and the quicker we all do this, the quicker we all can go back to normal lives. So let's get this show on the road. Today, the Saints are on the clock. And before we even talk about how the Saints did this year, we have to kind of go back into last year. They were the number one seed, and they made it to the championship game. And they just, what happened was that they got a call. Well, it wasn't much necessarily that they got a call. They got a no call on a pass interference that should have been pass interference. And, the Rams ended up winning the game. And it was a sort of an eye-opener that how you can miss that obvious, pass interference call. Obviously, I look at, both sides of the coin. The Saints should have, scored. But again, when that happens, momentum does shift in sports. And I'm a big believer in that. And I think that just kind of took the air out of the room for the Saints when that no call was called upon. So it happens. And, it is what it is. And, they had the number one seed. They just couldn't pull it off at the end. They lost in overtime, and that's how the Rams went on. But a huge success to that was the draft class that they did have last year. They had limited picks. They had no first rounder due to the fact that the previous year they traded with the Packers to move up, to get Marcus Davenport. So in the second round, in their last year's draft class, the second round, they took Eric McCoy, the center out of Texas A&M. Now, he was really close, by, who was going to be the better center. Was it going to be Bradbury, who got drafted in the first round by Minnesota, or was it going to be Eric McCoy? And they both had really well above expectation seasons. So, those guys are going to be centers in the league for a very long time, and they both did their thing. They didn't have a third rounder because they did trade that to Green Bay. They had a fourth. They drafted Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, the safety out of Florida. I thought he was going to get picked up way before the fourth round. We don't know what happened. Maybe just bad interviews. We don't know. Maybe he rubbed people the wrong way. But he had second round, talent. He wasn't the fastest guy, but he was a very instinctive football player. Very high football IQ. And, to get him in the fourth round, I thought that was amazing. He ended up finishing with 49 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, and 1 interception with 8 pass deflections. So, again, he's not the athletic safety that people try to go for nowadays. However, high football IQ and, just very intelligent player. So I think that was a steal in the fourth round. And then in the sixth round, They drafted another safety, Saquon Hampton, out of Rutgers. Just one tackle, just a special teams guy. But still, unique special teams is a very important part. It's one of the three phases. It's one of the phases that doesn't get talked about in football, but the stronger your special team is, the better, whether it's flipping the field, better field position, it just goes a long way. And then they had two 7-rounders, Lizzie Mack from the tight end from Notre Dame. He didn't make the squad. He ended up in the practice squad, but we'll see what happens. And then Caden Ellis, another special teamers, a linebacker out of Idaho, one tackle. So it just special teams again. But overall, their draft class the previous year was just what they needed, and it was just good enough. It was really good to the point where the abrupt retirement Max Unger was quickly replaced by Eric McCoy. Yeah, he has a few learning curves, but he's going to be a good center, and I think they did a really good job in finding a quick replacement after Max Unger retired. So that was the last year's draft class. The season starts. They win the home opener on that week 1, that Monday night doubleheader against the Houston Texans. Will Lutz kicks a field goal to win them the game. Then week 2, they get to Los Angeles. They come back to Los Angeles and they lost. But what was kind of ironic about it, or not ironic, but what was kind of scary at the time was Drew Brees went down. He couldn't hold the football. His thumb was kind of broken. It was broken, and so they had to put in Teddy Bridgewater. From what people might remember about Teddy Bridgewater, he was the starter of Minnesota, but a freak accident, kind of almost cost him his career. So he signs on as a backup for the Saints, and they lose week 2. Nobody was prepared for what was going to happen, and now word came out Drew Brees was going to miss some time. Well, it was 6 weeks, so Teddy Bridgewater had to come in, and all he had to do was, just play it smart. But not only did he play it smart, he played phenomenal. His stats lines don't show it, but he really led the team. They went on to win every game he started that year for him. They went 6-0, and that was amazing. And I think that just showed that Teddy could still play in this league. And, he led them to a 6-0 record, and Drew Brees came back, and they ended up finishing the season 13-3. They got crowned NFC South champions again, and they were the 3rd seed, so they had to play the wild card against Minnesota. It was a great game back and forth. As I said, you had Bradbury the center, Eric McCoy the center. They were both showing their talents at the Dome, and they were both played really well that day. And in the end of it, the Vikings won in a overtime. But what was kind of ironic is, the debate was, did Kyle Rudolph push off, or, did he not push off? I kind of saw a little bit of a push off. I was kind of surprised that the rule was implemented to review touchdowns and to review pass interference. It seemed like they did neither. They just quickly confirmed it was just a touchdown. Game's over, and what it seemed for like the second year in a row, the Saints got screwed by the refs again. There was a lot of factors. That late interception by Drew Brees, the fumble by Drew Brees, not converting on a 4th down. A lot of factors did play in. That one play didn't determine the game. However, if you're going to be a referee, you're going to be fair about it. They should have reviewed it. They should have tried to make a better judgment of it, but instead it was just a quick review of a confirmed touchdown, no offensive pass interference. Season's over, and here we are again with the Saints. They are getting closer and closer for that. I want to say the Super Bowl window to be over. It's just Drew Brees is not getting any younger, and Teddy Bridgewater left. He left the Saints, and now he's the starting quarterback for the Panthers, who just released Cam Newton a couple weeks ago, but Teddy Bridgewater signed on a brand new deal, so now he's the new quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. So now the Saints are in a, they're not in a panic mode, but if they have to win, they have to win now, because their free agency, showed how the direction of the team was going. They only re-signed Drew Brees to 2 years for, 2-year, $50 million. So there's only 2 seasons left, so we don't know what the extent of that contract is. We believe that it was a fully guarantee up front, and we'll see what happens. But aside from Drew Brees coming back from the Saints, Andres Pete resigned, the offensive guard. Now, I don't know how this is going to fit in, but I do like the signing. I mean, everybody's still going to be there, and, the whole offensive line might come back, barring injury, but it looks like a promising, offensive line, and that's what they need right now to protect Drew Brees. David Onyemata, the defensive tackle, he resigned. He actually started getting more starting time over Sheldon Rankins. But, he's a big dude. He's 6'4", 300 pounds. He's the old classic run stuffer. He was one of the best to do it, and, they re-signed him for another couple seasons, so that was always good. It's always good when you can keep players in-house, so that way you don't have to worry about, signing others to catch up with the system. And sort of a bit of a reunion. Malcolm Jenkins is coming back to the Saints. He finished his, he did for his 4 years in New Orleans, then he signed with the Eagles, and he's been there for almost 4 years now, and he decided to come home to New Orleans. And, I think it's a perfect fit. I think he's going to bring leadership to that defensive back room, and I think that's what they need is, defensive leaders like that. They already have Cam Jordan, who's up tearing it up in the line. Alex Calzonzo, the linebacker, he's going to be a leader here pretty soon. Still young, but he's developing into that leadership role. And now they have Malcolm Jenkins in the back, and they have a young superstar in, in that corner that they drafted. So, that room just got better with that one signing. So that's always good. And they also signed Zach Wood, who was the long snapper for the Cowboys for the last 3 years. He's coming to the Saints. So now that special teams unit, long snapper, punter, and kicker, they're set. They're ready to go. And like I said, special teams is 1/3 of the game, and they got one of the better units out there. So that's always good to have. Michael Burton, the fullback, his career extends to him playing with the Bears, the Lions, and the Redskins. He's signing with the Saints now. Justin Hardy, he's coming back. One of the main keys was getting more weapons for Drew Brees, so they went out and got Emmanuel Sanders for the 49ers. That was sort of a surprise pick, but I think it's a good signing for him. I think just more weapons for Drew now that Jared Cook is there, Michael Thomas being one of the better receivers in the league. Now you add Emmanuel Sanders. It's, with Alvin Kamara back there, now it's, Drew Brees is just spoiled in riches when it comes to offensive weapons. DJ Swearinger re-signed. Now, we don't know to the extent of, will he make the 53-man roster? His position is not solidified, but I think he will make it, only due to the fact that he has experience and starting time. So I think he makes the team, and I think that was a great re-sign for the Saints. Noah Spence is coming back. PJ Williams, he's coming back as the corner. And then Cameron Tom, the backup center from last year, he resigned. So they got their centers lined up. And another XFL signing from the Houston Roughnecks, Dietrich Nichols, the corner out of the Houston Roughnecks. He's another player that the XFL, unfortunately this week decided to, shut down operations, and they say that 2021 seems like a long shot to come back. So it's a shame, really, because, the XFL finally looked like it was going to have a surviving chance for, to be that league for after the NFL. But, circumstances happen, and, it's a bummer that, that league folded for the second time in its existence. So hopefully they do come back. We would love to go back. It's just a shame, really, that this happened. So, it's a shame. But, yeah, he played for the XFL Houston Roughnecks, and he's going to try to make the team. So, good luck to him, and hopefully he does this thing. So, as I said, I think the main focus is now, what are the Saints going to do? Do they ride with Drew Brees for a couple of years? Taysom Hill is now the backup, so I don't think quarterback is really the way they're going to go, as some people expect. I think they're going to give Taysom Hill his shot when it is his time. I don't think the quarterback right now is in a. I think that the quarterback room is solidified right now with just Taysom Hill and Drew Brees. They could bring another one in, but I think they're fine right now. And like I said, that defense is one of the better defenses in the league. So, I mean, you can't say much about it. And, like I said, 13-3, that's a hard feat to do. But what's more interesting now is that whole division in general. You have the Saints, who re-signed Drew Brees. He's coming back for another year. The Buccaneers just signed Tom Brady, so he's now the leader in Tampa Bay. Atlanta still has Matt Ryan, and Carolina now has Teddy Bridgewater. So that division is nothing but, quarterback rooms. And then we have a message here. You think Brees will retire this year? No, I say not this year, but probably next year. I mean, barring if he has any injuries or if he decides to call it quits, I think he comes back next year. But, the season's a long season, so he, like I said, God forbid, barring injuries and all that stuff, I think he, fulfills his 2-year contract and then he'll retire and do whatever it is he needs to do. There was reports that he did sign with NBC to be a new broadcaster for Sunday Night Football. So, I mean, who knows? Who knows? Maybe that'll be kind of cool to see Drew Brees at Sunday Night Football. That'll be nice. Hopefully, we'll see what ESPN does because they lost out on that and they lost out on Tony Romo. So maybe that Peyton Manning rumor is true. We don't know yet. But, next year it's going to be the same. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth. They're going to be Sunday Night Football crew for a couple more years after that. I think one of them two will probably retire or just move on to something else. But... that's in 2 years from now, so we'll see what happens, and, we'll see. But Drew Brees, I think he has 2 more years. But like I was saying, I don't think quarterback is in the mindset of Coach Payton and the general manager and the scouting reports. I think they feel comfortable with their guy, their guys going in, so I don't think quarterback's an issue. The defense is one of the best, but it can always get better. There was a couple times where they did get into a shootout with some of these high-powered teams like the 49ers, who they went into New Orleans, and it's a tough place to win, and they beat them. The 49ers beat the Saints by the skin of their teeth. So, that was a really good game. That was one of those games where you're like, man, and George Kittle made that amazing catch. He ran, and then that extra, that face mask that he got pulled on, and that had set him up for another 15 yards, and then they kicked the field goal, the game winner, and that's how they did it. But, they finished 13-3, got the 3rd seed, lose to the Vikings. So now it really is all about, what the next plan is. Like I said, quarterbacks on the future, I think reality-wise, I think what they probably will do is go defense again. Even though they did have Malcolm Jenkins there, Janoris Jenkins is there, they're getting a little bit older, so, age is going to be a factor. They are going to be there for a little bit longer, but, age will be a factor, and I think what it is you have to find their replacements. I think Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is a good start. I think they now need to find another, defensive player, whether it's on the line, on the edge, or at a defensive back room, but, I think that's the route they're going to take because offensively they're fine. They have a great offensive line. Their wide receiver core is good. Their tight end room is good. Their running backs are fine with Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray, so they're fine on that end. And Drew Brees is back, so I mean offensively they're going to be fine. They're going to look like the old Saints, for a long time now. Just touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. It seems like they're always scoring every time we turn on the TV and there's a Saints game. It's like, oh, touchdown. No figure. Saints Nation by Joan Garcia. Oh, man. I don't think they're Saints Nation. I think they're the Who Day Nation or the Who Dat Nation, but I'll get a confirmation on that later. But,
Who that man?
But like I said, I think they're going to go defensively here. I think they're already a good defense. I think with now the quarterback competition everywhere, they need to be a little bit better now. So with all that being said, here is my prediction on what I think the Saints are going to do with the 24th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. Oof, just 2 weeks away. I cannot wait, man. 2 weeks away. So here we go, guys. With the 24th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Trayvon Diggs, cornerback out of Alabama. As I mentioned, a little while ago, they do have Mumphrey there, and they do have Janoris Jenkins, and that's a good 1-2 combo. P.J. Williams, a good slot corner, and, Malcolm Jenkins is there, and now Chauncey Gardner, who's going to be in his second year, he'll be better. It's just, Janoris Jenkins is now, he's going to turn 31. He'll be 32 when the season's over, so, and he only has one more year left on his deal, and the same thing with P.J. Williams. They only re-signed him to a 1-year prove-it deal, so I think with this pick, Trayvon Diggs, you don't have to start him right away. And you're getting a starter, you can groom him, let him play a little bit, on the special teams, on dime packages, nickel packages, and, just, see what he's got. And I think this is a great value pick because you're also getting a guy who actually returned kickoffs for Alabama early in his career. But more on that, he's 6'2", 207 pounds. He has a 32 and a 3/4, arm length, almost 33 inches arm length, and a 9.5 inch hand size. He did participate in the combine. He did the on-field, meaning the gauntlet, the hip movements, all that stuff. But he didn't participate in drills. He actually was saving that for his pro day. He didn't participate in any drills. The pro day is when he was going to do it, but with this whole thing happening, we don't know. I think what they're asking is them to do it privately and, send them videos to teams, but I don't know how that's working. There was a video of Tua showing that, he could still throw and there's no problems with his hips, so he's fine there. I think yesterday Jalen Reagor, a pick that Roy did for the Eagles a couple of videos back, he did his pro day and he put his stats there and he did his thing, so I think that's what he's probably going to end up doing if he hasn't already done it. He's just probably going to do that. But yeah, he didn't participate in the, on-field, the 40 yards, the vertical. He didn't do none of that. But we'll see what happens. But he's a senior, so he came out as a senior. He stayed 4 years in Alabama, which is kind of like a rare feat now because if you get redshirt your sophomore year, you're already kind of thinking drafts. So what does Stephon need to improve on? Just everything, I guess. Just his, ability to just, just see the more, eye focus. I think that's about it. But other than that, he's okay with it. But as I was saying, he came as a freshman. As a freshman, he, really only didn't see the field that much just on special teams. He only had 5 tackles and 1 forced fumble. And the thing is, he's so athletic, he actually played wide receiver too if they needed an emergency wide receiver. And he ended up with 11 receptions for 88 yards and 1 touchdown. And like I said, he also returned kicks at Alabama, and he had 296 return yards at Alabama. So, that's, that was good. In 2017, again, with the depth that Alabama had at that time with the defensive backs room, he wasn't going to get a lot of playing time, but when he did, he tried to make the most out of it, and he ended up doing 6 tackles, 3 pass deflections, and 228 return yards, and they took him off the wide receiver, position. So that was kind of it for him. 2018, he finally got his shot to start. He started, but the unfortunate thing was he only played 6 games before, a broken foot injury ended his season, and he ended the season with 20 tackles, 1 fumble or forced fumble, 1 interception, and 6 pass deflections. But just in those 6 games, you knew he was going to be, he looked like a promising player. He had the chance to go to the draft of last year, but he felt, in his opinion, that he was going to gamble on himself and try to get a higher grade. and it's a good thing he came back because now he's looking at, you know, mid first to early second, and that's still a pretty good ceiling for him. In 2019, he ended up the season with 37 tackles, 2 fumble recoveries, 3 interceptions. One of them was a pick six, and 8 pass deflections. Now, he is a 2-time SEC champion at Alabama. They won the national championship in 2018, and he became the first. He was part of the first team All SEC this year in 2019. So the kid can play, and what you're getting is good value. You know, you don't have to start him right away. You know, because you already have 2 starting corners. Your slot is PJ. You can bring him in. He could be your slot down the road, or maybe he's your fourth in a nickel or dime package. You know, whatever you need it is, and you can also use him as a kick returner, punt returner, because he's done that at Alabama. So, you know, I think you're getting a good bang for your buck here. You know, if you're a Saints fan, and if you know this kid, you know, you're getting a bang for your buck, and he's, you know, probably one of the better corners coming out in this draft. But again, he could always improve his game. But I mean, that's the beauty of it. You already have your 2 starters. You can groom them, and you could take your time with him to, you know, catch up with the defense and, you know, just make him sit a year. But, you know, that's my prediction. I would really love to hear your guys' predictions. So I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight for the Saints. Tomorrow, the Vikings are on the clock again because the previous pick, they got another one because they traded Stephon Diggs away. So, sorry, you meant Trayvon. Oh, I mean, yeah, I get what you were saying, but I think that's the only thing is just, you know, eye discipline, because there's times where he does get a little over aggressive sometimes, and there's a point where if he does match up with the speedy receiver, he actually like stands up more than he should backpedal, and I think that's him trying to catch up. But I think if he just works on that, he'll be fine. I mean, I don't see, other than that, I mean, we'll see how it goes for him. But tomorrow the Vikings are on the clock. They got their other first rounder was Buffalo's, but they already made the selection for the Buffalo pick. Today or tomorrow will be the Vikings, their original pick. So we'll finally dive into the Vikings. So it should be a good one tomorrow, and I'll, you know, we'll get into it tomorrow. Other than that, do we have any questions on the thing? No? All right. So that is it for today, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. And, you know, take time to just, you know, self-medicate, man. It's all good. Just rest your mind, rest your body. Have a wonderful night, guys.